Hello, everyone. I am back again. So I have a brand new class. Today, I will start a new chapter for Business Studies AS. If I'm not mistaken, this is chapter 27. Okay. I'll tell you the name of the chapter later. Let's have some discussion. All right. Let's wait for some students to join. And in the meanwhile, if you haven't liked our page, you can go and like our Facebook page. Just type in Fyruz Education Services. We also have a YouTube channel. You can subscribe to our page. We have plenty of educational videos, and we are constantly updating it. You can also send me friend request if you want, because all our live classes, a lot of education materials are also posted on my personal profile as well. So yeah. So let's wait for some students to join. Zavir is here, which is great. I hope Renuma is here too. And the others, you're most welcome to join because today I have a very interesting lesson. This lesson is not so big. It has around 20 slides. So I have divided it into two sections. We will do 10 slides today. Right. So it's not going to take much time and we will have a good time ahead. So let's start. So this picture, this is a very old classic picture, and it should go down the history because this is a picture of two brothers, Richard and Morris. They started their business in 1940, okay, back in 1940. And since there were two brothers, Morris and Richard, they started partnership, okay? So either you can start with partnership or sole trader. Sole trader when you're just one, and partnership when you're two. So they started partnership instead of sole trader because the two of them. But more or less, the advantages and disadvantages are the same. And we know they will have unlimited liability because it's not an incorporated business. It's unincorporated. Unlimited liability means the business and the owner, they're linked with each other. If the business face problems, the owners will have to pay from the pocket. So they started with partnership. It's easy to start with sole trader and partnership because there are less legal hassles. It is inexpensive. Okay, it does not cost so much. So they started off with partnership, which is great. And in 1948, they pioneered the speedy concept in 1948. Okay, which means this company, which is called McDonald's. So we were talking about McDonald's. McDonald's invented the speedy system. What is speedy system? When you go to Burger King or when you go to any fast food store, you just wait for 5 minutes. You go place your order, give the money, you wait for 2, 3, or 5 minutes maximum, and your food is ready within a couple of minutes, yes? So that is known as speedy system, and that was invented. That was established by McDonald's first. Okay, so they came up with the system how to produce food or make food in just a couple of minutes. Because before this, before 1948, there was a huge complaint that people had to wait for a long time for their food. But, McDonald's came up with a way where you could serve food, deliver food in just a couple of minutes. And when they pioneered this system, they became big, they became quite famous. They started attracting a lot of customers, right? So when they started becoming big, they became private limited company. Okay, they became a private limited company, means they can sell shares within family and friends. Okay, the shares are sold privately. They have a separate legal identity, which means the business and the owners are separate. Okay, if something happens to the business, they don't have to pay from their own savings or own pocket. They're all separate, right? And it's an incorporated business. It has better status than partnership, more status, right? So there we go. And when they became very big, they became a public limited company. Big companies like Beximco or Boshundhara, they are all public limited company, like Apple, Facebook. Okay, public limited company. The main difference between a public limited company and a private limited is in public limited company, you can sell shares to the general public. we can buy shares. If Beximco has shares, then we can buy shares because it's a public limited company. And in public limited company, it is stated that anybody can buy and sell shares through IPO. IPO means initial public offering. Okay, so McDonald's became a very big company, public limited company. Now they could sell shares to anyone and raise money. In public limited company, you can raise a lot of money, and it's not easy to become a public limited company. If you get up in the morning and if you think that, oh, I will become a public limited company PLC, no, it's not possible. There's a journey like this. So you have to start from sole trader, partnership, be a private limited company, and then you need to have a certain set of, you need to fulfill a certain set of conditions. You need to have 500 employees or 200 employees. You need to have a revenue of at least $1 million or $2 million. You need to have a profit of this. There are criterias. It's a long process to become a public limited company. It's a long process. Sometimes it may take 2-3 years. Yes, I have seen companies, filing for their IPO. It took them 2-3 years. So it's not easy. It's a very big deal. Okay. And they became a public limited company, which meant that they could sell their shares. Okay. And they went international in 1967. They have 36,000 restaurants worldwide. How many? Not one, not two, not three, 36,000. Think about it. Okay. They employ 1.7 million people as of 2016. 1.7 million people. And they have a revenue of $6,000 million. Think about it. Revenue, just revenue alone, $6,000 million. So they have 36,000 restaurants worldwide. 1.7 million people are employed by them. They have a revenue of $6,000 million. They started from nothing. They started from partnership, which does not have a separate legal identity. So you have to start small. Can you see the journey? You start as sole trader or partnership, then you become a private limited company, okay? And then you become a public limited company, because the jump from private to public limited company is very difficult. You need certain criteria, certain conditions. You need to fulfill them. There are a lot of laws and regulations. So this is the story of McDonald's. Right? And who doesn't like McDonald's? We don't have McDonald's here, but yeah, there's a movie called The Founder. The Founder. If you haven't watched it, this is a good time during the period of lockdown. If you're still staying inside, download it and watch it. The Founder. Okay, let's go ahead. So one thing, yeah, so public, okay, so you may have a question that, okay, how can we buy shares? Since McDonald's is an American company, you can buy shares from New York Stock Exchange. This is the New York Stock Exchange, and I was fortunate enough back in 2015 or 16 to be there. And this is New York Stock Exchange. These are the narrow lanes of New York Stock Exchange, and I was there with my wife, and there we go. We had a very good time, and it's a great place. So public limited companies can sell their shares to the general public. Now, where can you buy them? You can buy them from New York Stock Exchange. They have their website. There are several agencies. You can also buy it through them. Trade agencies. You can buy through them. So there we go. This is the New York Stock Exchange. Let's go ahead. So, owners like Morris and Richard, they want to grow. You want to grow because when you grow, your business becomes big. When you become big, you have more profile. More people will respect you. When you grow big, you will have more revenue. When Richard and Morris started their business, I'm sure their revenue was not $6,000 million. And I'm sure they haven't imagined, right? So, your revenue will increase. When your revenue increases, you will enjoy economies of scale. There you go. Economies of scale means you will enjoy lower cost when you produce more. And it's easy because when you're a big business, when you're a public limited company, when you need money, You can ask anyone. It's easy to raise money. Okay, so public limited company is ultimately a dream for all entrepreneur. If you want to be a very big, well-known company, then public limited company is the way to go. Okay, and most of the large markets, large businesses like Facebook, like McDonald's, like Burger King, or like Apple, these large businesses, they will dominate the market. They will have a lot of power over suppliers. They will have a lot of power over consumers, okay, rather than sole trader and partnership. But they all, keep this in mind, they all started small. Zavir, you were asking me that, how do you, how does it happen? So you start small as a sole trader, as a partnership, and then private limited company. And then you become public limited. Then you have different branches all over the city and all over the world, all over the country. That's how it happens. Okay. So there we go. And you can raise more capital than private limited company. Because in private limited, what happens? You can only sell your shares to your family and friends. You can transfer it privately within your circle. But in public limited company, you can sell, you can buy shares out of your circle, literally anyone. Isn't it great? So you can buy it from, let's say, if it's an American company, you can buy it from New York Stock Exchange. If it's Bangladesh, then Dhaka Stock Exchange. Okay, great. If you have any questions, just put it up in the comment section and we will take it. Let's go ahead. So let me show you the structure, how it works in PLC. We also had a structure for private limited. So I just want to show you. So again, similarly, you have a paid up capital. In this example, we have 1 crore, but in public limited company, the amount is going to be a lot, 50 crores, 100 crores. So paid up capital, okay, 1 crore. Number of shares, you will have number of shares, 100,000. Per share, you will have a certain value. Per share, you will have a certain value, okay? And then the board will be headed by a chairperson. In this case, let's say Nabila Mahmoud. She will head the board. She is the leader of the board, okay? And she has 30,000 shares, which is worth 30 lakhs. Let's say I'm the managing director. I have 40,000 shares, 40 lakhs. I have more shares. That means I will have more control, okay? Then Taib is the director. He has 10,000 shares, which is worth 10 lakhs or 10%. Then you can have other small shareholders. In big companies, you will see shareholders who has 2%, 1%, 3%. Okay. Others collectively, they may have 10,000 shares, which is worth 10 lakhs or 10%. Okay. So you can see that I have most of the shares, so I will have more control. Now make sure, okay, we'll talk about this later. Then general public. Now the difference between private, in private is it's confined till here. But in public, you open up the shares through initial public offering to the general public. IPO is offering shares to the general public. So to the general public, you offer around 10,000 shares collectively, which is worth 10 lakhs or 10%. When they buy your shares, they become a shareholder. They become a part of the company. Okay. Now, keep this in mind. In public limited companies, for example, let's say I am the main founder of this company. Let's say, so I will always try to have more control. So try to have more shares in your hand. Okay, because if you don't have more shares, let's say if you just have 15% or 10%, then you will not be able to control. You will lose control. So have more shares, because the how it works is the more shares you have, the more control you will have. Because if you have less shares, general public or others will take over the company. They will start ruling the company, and you don't want to do that. So this is why আমি আমার কাছে control রাখার জন্য I kept 40,000 shares with me. I am the major shareholder. Okay, so keep that in mind. So this is the structure. Okay, let's go ahead. And when you open up to the general public, so in case of New York, we have seen New York companies can go to New York Stock Exchange website or their office to buy shares, or other third-party agencies. For Bangladesh, what happens? Now, let's say you want to buy shares of Beximco or Boshundhara or any public limited companies. Where do you go? There you go. Dhaka Stock Exchange. I'm sure they have their own website. This is their office. You also have other third-party agencies where you can buy your shares, right? So Dhaka Stock Exchange. Next up. So I've showed you the structure already, so we don't need to talk about that. So it'll be headed by a chairperson, okay? There'll be a managing director, there'll be directors, shareholders. So there'll be a board of directors. They will control the company. So these people will control the company, okay? These people here at the top. And then you offer shares to the general public through IPO, okay, through IPO. And, in the world, just to give you an idea, majority of the companies are private limited, okay, majority of the companies are private limited. Only 1 or 2% in the world are public limited. So you can understand how difficult it is to become a public limited company, okay? Not everyone can do, because there are some prerequisites, there are some criterias, there are some conditions that you need to meet, okay? So there we go. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to write down here. I just want to check my phone because I think students are messaging. Let me just check if, okay, no messages, which is great. There we go, right. And however, I mean, yes, only 1 or 2% of companies in the world are public limited company, but then they have a very big impact. They impact the national output, employment. Now think about all the big companies in the world, like Amazon, Facebook, Boshundhara, Partex, or any big companies in the world. They're so big. They employ so many people. They produce so much of goods. They have a certain value. They provide you valued services. Yes. So there you go. And you can buy the shares. You can buy their shares from Dhaka Stock Exchange or Dhaka Stock Exchange's website, or third-party agencies available who will sell shares on behalf of Dhaka Stock Exchange. Okay. So yeah. And for that, you need to float your shares through initial public offering. Okay. So when you apply to sell the shares to the general public, that process is known as IPO. Okay. And this process is quite expensive and time consuming, because I told you it's not easy. There are some conditions. Okay. Administration is necessary. You need a specialist person. You need an investment bank to help you with it. Think about it, an investment bank. Okay. And you need to publish a prospectus, like a book. You need to publish a prospectus about your company. So let's see, what is it about? So prospectus is about a brief history of your company. When did you start? What did you do? How many customers do you have? How many employees do you have? What is your revenue? How have you been doing for the last 5 to 10 years? What's your profit like? What's your expenses like? Who are the directors? Description of your operations. Okay, how will you raise money? Why do you want to be a public limited company? How do you want to raise money? How much do you want to raise money? With that money, what do you want to do? Okay, about your past account details, any legal problems if you have, any risks, any information about how to buy shares, because there may be some rules and regulations in your case. Okay, so everything will be mentioned in a prospectus, which is like a book, and it's this fat. I've seen prospectus of public limited companies. It's this fat. Okay, it's not easy, because you're going to take people's money and invest in your business. That's the idea. Why are you taking money from the public? from everyone, because you want to take that money and invest in your business, buy land, make new products, invest in your business, and then give them back dividends. That's how it works. Okay, so this is what a prospectus is. So you need to start selling your shares through IPO, a stock market flotation. So a stock market flotation occurs when you go public, and then it will find a value. Okay, FES is valued at 60 taka per share. So they will float and they will find their own value. And IPO, this process of floating and finding your own value, is IPO. Okay. And going public, being a public limited company, is very expensive, because you need a separate set of lawyers, an army of lawyers, 15, 20 lawyers, because you'll be selling your shares to the general public, receiving money. You have to give them dividends. There's so many things. You have to write the prospectus. So bankers and lawyers together will write it. So that can be expensive. You have to hire bankers and lawyers. Okay. You have to make expensive publications available. You have to share applications. Then there are some shares that has to be underwritten. Means if the shares are unsold, somebody will have to buy those shares. Then you will have advertising and administrative expenses. And as a company, you must have a minimum of shares, which is what, 50 lakhs taka, or 50,000 pound. So it is an expensive process, because you need to hire specialist lawyers, specialist bankers, administrative expenses, marketing expenses, advertising expenses. You need to have a certain number of shares. You can't give everything. You cannot sell everything to the general public. As a company, you need to keep some minimum number of shares, like around 50,000, it's mentioned here, according to UK rules and regulation. Okay. And you need to receive at least 25% of the value of shares to start to start operations. These are not so important. These are excess of information. So yeah, I think we will stop here, because we've talked about, it's just 22 minutes, but we've talked about a lot of important things, and then we'll take this to the Zoom meeting, where we'll talk about. So I started by talking about McDonald's, how they started small and then becoming big, private limited, public limited. They became international. They opened franchises. Okay. And then I showed you pictures of New York Stock Exchange. We talked about the growth of business. We've talked about the structure. I showed you the pictures of Dhaka Stock Exchange. Then how public limited companies work. What is a stock market flotation? We've talked about that. What is a prospectus? We've talked about it. Why is it expensive? And yeah, so we'll stop here and we'll finish this in the next class. Thank you for being with us. There must be marketing, HR, supply chain, IT department. Yeah, of course. Of course, Zavir. Yes. These are, you need to have those as well. So I'll stop here. You can like our page if you want, Fyruz Education Services, and you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Type in Fyruz Education Services again. I'm done for the day. I'll see you tomorrow and finish this lesson. So be with us. Thank you.